Hey, I'm Rise, and I'll give you the UC timeline in chronology. Because Gundam has been around since 1979, it has spawned various titles throughout the decades. So when it comes to this huge line of titles, it may be a bit intimidating when you first look at all these titles and wonder where they fit. So that's where this video will come in. I will be listing these titles in order of their timeline, as well as some brief information about them. Although I won't go into detail because I already have an ongoing series, Gundam History, which already does that. This list would only include titles which belong to the original timeline, UC or Universal Century, so alternate universe shows which are standalones will receive a different video. Also, this will only include animated with only a few exceptions such as live action or radio dramas. Mangas and novels such as Crossbone and Hathaway's Flash will not be included. So, let's kick off with Gundam the Origin. As of this video, the OVA is currently ongoing with only one episode, Blue-Eyed Castful, being released so far, with episode 2, Artesia's Sorrow, coming in this October of 2015. Origin is a prequel to the original show, following the events which lead up to the war in the first show. If the core fighter in Char's Counterattack says anything, the trilogy is what's canon instead of the show. This movie trilogy going over the 1-year war between the Federation and Zeon. Of course, being a trilogy, this is a 3-movie compilation of the original show which had 43 episodes. Now, 8th is a strange one, as I'll tell you in a moment. The story follows the 8th MS team, who are giving mass production Gundams. Their leader Shiro gains compassion for his enemy and wants to fight this war with little casualties as possible. In total, this is a 12 episode long OVA with an extra film called Battle of 3 Dimensions. Now, the reason it's strange is because it has a movie compilation, but it is a bit different from the original show. It's called Miller's Report. I recommend watching the series and then this movie, as this movie shows a different perspective, and adding the character Alice Miller investigating the main protagonist. MS Igloo is a CGI OVA series, going over 3 grunt stories during the 1-year war. These titles are The Hidden 1-Year War, Apocalypse 0079, and Gravity Front, each having 3 episodes with a total of 9 episodes for the series. A War in the Pocket shows how war can affect everyone, such as a little boy who learns what real war is. This tragedy is of 2 love interests whose fates arrive into the battlefield, each being on different sides, not knowing that they will fight each other. Episode count for this OVA is 6. 0083 Stardust Memory is where a prototype Gundam armed with a nuclear warhead is stolen. It is up to the protagonist of this story to stop the plans of the Zeon remnants, who do not accept that the war is over yet. These events will give rise to the Titans Task Force. It is a 13 episode OVA, but there is also special backstory for the character Kima, going by the Mayfly of Space. Within Zeta, the Federation's Titans Task Force has become tyrannical, flipping the sides of this conflict, bringing former enemies into the same side against the Titans. There is a total of 50 episodes, and if it wasn't obvious by now, Zeta would be my favorite story. It takes the dark storytelling of the original to a whole new level. Gundam Evolve may have 15 episodes, but some of them belong to alternate universe titles. But there is one episode in particular that I think should be watched, being episode 9. It's very worth the watch. ZZ takes place right after Zeta, with the Titans defeated, Neo Zeon makes its move. As the AEUG is weakened by the previous war, new type misfits will take a strange adventure for the first half before the series gets into full gear towards the later half. This series has a total of 47 episodes. With all these previous events leading up to this single movie, it is quite the experience closing the book on the original Gundam rivalry between Amuro Ray and Char. This movie is simply amazing. When it comes to Mission to Rise, we don't really know exactly when it takes place, as well as it's probably not in the main UC timeline, whereas a alternate UC timeline, such as Gaia Gear, done for the 20th anniversary, the Federation plans to send a pod through a warp hole to see what's on the other side. Unicorn takes place 3 years after events of Char's Counterattack, where the tension between the Federation and Zeon seems to be far from over. The story revolves around a secret box which holds the power to destroy the entire Federation, making it a free-for-all for all those who want it for their own ambitions. This OVA ran for 4 years with a total of 7 theatrical episodes. Gundam F91 is a movie which jumps about 30 years after the last entry. People have finally lived in peace with a whole new generation who has not experienced what war was. But that all changes as the peace is taken advantage of and a new threat arises. This movie would give rise to the Crossbone Gundam manga series, with a returning cast from the movie working in the shadows as pirates to protect the peace they had fought to achieve. Now, if you thought Zeta was depressing by this point, Victory will be that but more, with another 30-year time skip, where the power of the Federation is at an all-time low. The Zankar Empire plans to take over the planet Earth, and only a resistance is all that stands in their way. It'll eventually lead up to a genocidal type weapon. Victory has a total of 51 episodes. Next up we have Gaia Gear, which is a little extra I'll give you. Unlike the rest, this is a radio drama, but at the moment it's not really considered canon, but it's a very interesting story, such as the protagonist being an actual clone of Char. Episode count for this drama is 26. I'll give you a link so you can bookmark it and eventually watch it. So you'd expect the Gundam live action movie to be awesome, right? Well, not so much, but I would rather have you make your own opinion on it. By this time, the Federation has completely collapsed with a new form of government given rise. So, G-Savior's a bit weird, but if anything, you might end up being a fan of it. This TV series takes place in the far future of the UC timeline, where a new century emerged, the Reguild century. In this timeline, many weapons in battle are considered taboo, but all sides fearing and not trusting their enemy, all break the taboo which they held sacred. It's a story of transition, showing that one's thoughts may not be of their own, but propaganda fed to them by birth. Episode count for G-Reco is 26, whereas now the final episode is actually being redone, so it'll be fun to watch the final episode again. Now, Turn A isn't really entirely in the UC timeline. It's actually a show where all timelines lead to one point, and that is the correct century. This show was quite the experience. Learning about the dark history was great, and the true frightful ability of the Turn A. The count for this adventure is 50 episodes. Optionally, you can watch the two movies, which are a condensed version of the show, but the experience just isn't the same. Ring of Gundam is a short film written and directed by Tomino in 2009 for the 30th anniversary. It would be some far point in the UC history, dealing with something called Amuro's legacy. One thing about this film is that one of the meanings is to simply move on. So, there we go. That would essentially be the UC timeline in order. So, I hope this was helpful and you enjoy your watch. The UC timeline is so rich with such great stories. So please, when it comes to many of these, don't let anyone create opinions for you. Watch these shows for yourself and decide for yourself. It is very tiring to see people say, don't watch this show, it's garbage. No, because clearly many of these shows have their own fans, and you may end up being one of them. So, good luck.